afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be watching me from. Okay, yeah, this is Real Estate Matters with the Lady Billionaire Realtor. I'm really sorry we are coming up live almost 1 hour late. I've been on the phone with some of my clients and I couldn't, I thank you for joining. Thank you. I couldn't tell them that I have to go for live section though. In fact, the last call, oh, Gani, hi. I couldn't tell him that I need to go for a live section. He's one of my very good clients and he was on the phone with me for almost an hour. You can imagine what we were talking about. We're talking about his previous investments and new investments, and so when you deal with us, you just want to talk to us, and that's how it works. So I'm really sorry we came in like 1 hour late, and so it's going to affect our Facebook Live as well. But it's just today, okay? And so welcome. Thank you, Gani's signature. Thank you, Moses. Thank you, GMH Realty. Okay, so we just have to start right about now because we have really wasted a lot of time, but it was profitable anyways. I was closing deals. Okay, so today we'll be talking about tips for first-time home buyers. Yeah, tips for first-time home buyers. And so this is Real Estate Matters with the Lady Billionaire Realtor, whereby we talk about everything real estate in the Lekki, Ajah, Ikoyi axis, Ibechu Lekki, Epe, just talk about real estate generally. So when you want to make a decision, you have all the knowledge that you need to make a decision. And so today we'll be talking about tips for first-time home buyers. Okay, you want to buy your first house, either for yourself or maybe to live in or for investments. You need those tips, so that when you're eventually ready, you know what to do. Okay, so let's go right about now. Okay, so I'll first of all congratulate you because the fact that you're thinking of getting a house, either for investment or for yourself, maybe you want to move in there, that's a huge feat. That's worth celebrating. So congratulations. Congratulations are in order, because when you start thinking of it, you begin to meditate on it. Before you know, it becomes your reality. And so for taking that step at all, thinking about buying my first house, we have to give you thumbs up, okay? And so for other people who are already, but this is not their first house, but no knowledge is waste, so you can also gain a lot, okay? And so we go right away. The process of buying your first house can be overwhelming, because it's your first time anyways. So with these tips that we're going to talk about today, it will help you, it will make the journey, the process easy. At times, in fact, one of my clients that bought a house in August, we helped him to get a house. Thank you, Makade Wale. Thank you for joining us. This is Real Estate Matters with the Lady Billionaire Realtor, and today we're talking about tips for first-time home buyers. So I was trying to talk about a client of mine who bought a house around August. Eventually, we got a house for him. Wow, thank you all. We got a house for him, and he was telling me that, Mercy, do you know that this is my first house? This buying house thing, because we had to check several, options. Thank you, can see you. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Madonna Holmes, thumbs up. Yeah, so we had to check several houses and all that before he could come up with a decision, and he was like, this stress is, it's too much, it's overwhelming, from, checking the house to see which one he would like and which one suits him well. and the documentation process and everything, he was really overwhelmed. That was because it was his first time, and he didn't have this knowledge initially. If not, the process would have been very easy, of course. And so with these tips, making your home buying decision would be very easy. And so we'll just start right away. So before you start looking for a house, yes, you have started thinking about it, creating memories in your head, and believing that it will become a reality. Thank you for joining. Thumbs up. Yeah, you need to choose a realtor. Okay, you need to choose a realtor when you start thinking of buying a house, because the realtor has knowledge of the market. The realtor can help you in planning, in terms of inspections. What are the things that you need to do? So you get a realtor, so the realtor takes you through all the process, because they are skilled in that field. They take your preferences. They know, okay, they ask you several questions, and based on the answers that you're given, they will begin to help you, start working with your realtor at the beginning if you're trying to get a home. Okay, don't just go and say, okay, now I just want to buy a home, just like that, my client. It was when he was ready that, he didn't know about the tips, he should go through and, follow a realtor. Like we do every Tuesday now, we're giving out, tips, different real estate tips. So when you begin to study these things, by the time you're ready, you've already familiarized yourself with the real estate market, kind of, and so it's not like you're a layman, going into that project, irrespective of the fact that it's your first home. So choose a realtor, because they will make the process easy and smooth for you eventually. Okay, especially as a first-time home buyer. Okay, number 2 is save for a down payment. Okay, save for a down payment. Because of our mortgage system in Nigeria, you have, the double digit interest rate is really, really high, and so it is not encouraging most times for people to use mortgage. In fact, about 2 of my clients are there, but about 3, this year, that I bought properties, they wanted to use mortgage. And so we have a partner mortgage company that we refer our clients to, and so we refer them to this mortgage company. And by the time they calculated everything for them, the house they wanted to buy, by the time they add the interest rate, it's almost like 3 times the amount of the house. And so mortgage in this part of our country is not very friendly, but though some people still use it, but at the time you check it, it's really off the roof most times, because it's a double digit interest rate, and so most people are discouraged. And so, but if you're looking at getting your house, some people have the money, the bulk money, okay, but some do not have. And the truth is, you don't have to have the bulk of money to be able to become a house owner. Okay, even if you've bought a house before, or you're a first time home owner, you don't need to have the bulk cash, to buy a house. So when you begin to save for a down payment, once you have, it will happen to everybody. Most times, if you're, aspiring to get a new car, and you decided on the brand you want to go for, I don't know if it happens to you, you begin to see the cars everywhere, So that's how it is. So when you save for a down payment, you begin to visualize yourself in that house. So you want to do everything. Thank you, Okwara, for joining. I really appreciate. Thank you. Okay, so you begin to do everything to be able to see that that dream becomes a reality. So once you save for the down payment, because most times if we are talking about down payments, we're talking about off-plan houses now, because for ready houses, it's cash and carry. Most of the developers, they don't get money from the bank, or even if they get money from the bank, they finish the project, they want to sell it and make refunds to the bank, or they want to sell it and recoup their money and start up another project. And so that's why you see that houses that are ready, you hardly get payment plan. And if you're going to get, thank you Sister Joining for joining, I really appreciate. If you even get some houses that are ready, the max they can give you is usually 3 months. You would have dropped at least over almost 70% of the money, and they can give you at least 3 months. That happens anyway, but most times for built-up houses, it is usually outright. And so when we are talking about save a down payment, we are talking about off-plan houses. As a first-time homeowner, you don't have the bulk of cash, but you can save for that down payment. Okay, so how do you do that? They have to be deferred pleasure. Since you have made up your mind, you have started thinking of becoming a homeowner, some things will have to wait. Okay, one of Awoshika, Ibukun Awoshika, one of her lectures, she was talking about one of her experiences with an investment that she bought around Chevron area. That was some years ago. At that time, most of these areas were not developed at that time. And, she said in that lecture that, she had things she wanted to do with that money. She bought about 6 plots around that area at that time. But she used the word deferred pleasure. Thank you for joining Cash Out King. Deferred pleasure. And she put that money in that property. And at the time she wanted to carry out a major project and she needed money, she resold that property. And she made over 1,000. That's the property has appreciated over 1,000. Increase in terms of the value. You can imagine making ROI, return on investment, over 1,000. Everybody likes that, right? Okay, so in this case, when you're saving for a down payment, you have to apply discipline. At times when you go to the stores, to the mall, you see everything will be calling you, even the things you don't need. At times you buy them and they end up staying on the shelf and you don't use them, So, but when you made up your mind that you want to buy a house, in fact your first home or any other investment, even if it's not your first home, yes, discipline is key to be able to save for that down payment. And that one of the benefits of buying off land is the factor of time. You can now, once you have made that initial deposit, because your mind will always tell you, my house has started. So that's culture of putting money aside to be able to meet up with the payment plan, it would have been registered in your mind, and so you will naturally pay it up over a period of time. Okay, so save a down payment. Number one, we said you should get a realtor so that the journey would be easy. And number two, we said save a down payment. Okay, number three, determine how much home you can afford. Do your calculations. That is, have a budget. A lot of people talk to us and say, I want to buy a house. And when you say you want to buy a house, the first things we ask you is, what are you, what's your budget? That will help us inform the location. Okay, I'll tell you a funny story. Okay, a friend of mine, so she contacted me that she wanted a house in Ikoyi. Wow, I was like, wow, this is a big one, because anyone that wants to buy a house in Ikoyi must be among the 1% of the 1%. Oh, thank you, appreciate, thank you. Okay, and so when she told me she wants to buy a house in Ikoyi, I was really excited. And after she told me that, that now informed my question. I'm like, okay, So what's your budget? In fact, I wouldn't want to tell you what her budget was. But the truth is, our budget could not even afford a jar. I was like, really? And you were looking at Ikoyi? Are you serious? We laughed over it anyway. She was my friend. And so, when you're looking at buying a house, there are so many houses, beautiful houses, that will put out there. And, you really love them, okay? And you really want to have them. But, you have to, according to tongue here, they say cut your coat according to your material. You have to have a budget, okay? What you can afford. It's a process. You start from where you are and you begin to grow, okay? Determine how much you can afford. Have a budget. Be realistic, okay? Don't say, oh, it must be Ikoyi. If it's not Ikoyi, I'm not going to buy a house. Okay, one of my clients told me that sometime around 2008 or 9, he was working with the bank at that time. He's not in the oil industry, the bank for the oil industry. And so he said that time when everybody was buying land in his office. So around that jar, Sonkotedo area, he was telling all of them, me, it's lucky phase one, I'm going to stay. Yes, that's sweet anyways. But he had the money to buy properties in Aja at that time. But because he was, he loved Lekki phase one, it has to be VI or Lekki phase one. After that place, I'm not going to go more than that. Do you know where he eventually bought? He bought that Abijo. He bought one of our listings, one of our land listing. Okay, and so he said at that time, plots were still selling for 800,000, 500,000. But because he wanted VI, Lekki phase one or Ikoyi, he didn't buy. He was just waiting. I will get there. I will make the money and I will buy it. So if he had, put in the money in those areas, in Aja, maybe Chevron area, he said he would have been able to buy in Chevron at that time because the prices were still fair. But he would have been able to sell them later and he would have been able to afford, house in Lekki phase one or even VI. Okay? And so you need to get a budget. If you're looking at buying a house, either you're a first-time home owner or a first-time buyer or an existing buyer, you look at what you can afford. Your cash inflow will determine what you can afford. Okay, and so most times, if you don't have the luxury of bulk cash, you can opt for payment off-plan houses, payment plan. You have usually it spans from 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and at times you can get up to 24 months, and that way, it will be easy for you to pay up over a period of time. Okay, calculate what you can afford. Go for something that is around your budget so that you don't overstretch yourself. Okay, and so that's number 3. We started with get a realtor, save for a down payment, and number 3 we said determine how much you can afford, calculate, have a budget. Okay, okay. Number 4, take into consideration the hidden charges and other costs of finishing, moving in. If for instance you're buying the house for yourself to move in with your family, this is Christmas period, a lot of people like to move into their new houses or move out to a new house. Okay, so you must take into cost, you must calculate that cost, because most times when we put out the houses there, it's not all time you just put, okay, there's going to be development fee, you pay for documentation, at times you pay for agency fees, there's going to be survey fees, there's going to be service charge. Most times we don't put it out there. And so that's why when you get a realtor, your realtor will highlight all these things to you. Most times, some people will just see, okay, the house, how much are we selling? 1 bedroom co-living in Oakley. Okay, it's 12.5 million. That's all I'm going to pay. It's 12.5 million. And they say, I hope I'm not going to pay any other money, because I don't want to be hearing. You have to take into consideration those other fees. Because number one, you have to pay for development fee. Because it is that development fee that the estates will use to beautify that environment. You know, the nice drainage, the street lights, the swimming pool, the gym area, the co-working space. That's what they'll use that money for. So as a first-time home buyer, you have to, when you're calculating your costs or your budget, you have to factor in those hidden charges. Most times they're always having, the person would have loved the property, and when it comes to other charges, people begin to frown at it. No, why should I be paying for survey? You need your survey, okay? A survey in your name, because there's always a general survey in the company's name, and now there's a transfer of ownership. So you need your survey, and in Alausa they don't give survey for free. You pay for survey, and so you need to put into consideration those other hidden charges like development fee, survey, administrative fee, deed of assignment, transfer of ownership, documentation, or the service charge, other fees or agency fee or legal fees. You also need to put that in your budget when you're looking at getting a house. Thank you for joining. Thumbs up, I really appreciate. Okay, so let's go further. It is okay to ask questions. Okay, don't feel overwhelmed by the process. If you need clarification on any aspect of the process, ask questions. Okay, at times my clients are like, Mercy, I hope I'm not asking too many questions. I said, where you are not asking me questions, I'm even scared. Okay, so ask questions. All the questions that you need to ask, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, or if you're even an existing buyer, you have to ask questions at all times. Don't say, let them not say, it's your money. You're about to, let go of your hard-earned money. So it is very okay to ask all the questions. Like in one of my previous live section, I said, if you don't understand it, then you shouldn't buy. Okay? Understand everything. At times, some people will buy something, they will say, I didn't even know whether this person was using jazz on me. I didn't even, when you ask us, okay, what's not happened? They say, I can't even, thank you, Fashion Parrots, for joining. Appreciate. They don't even understand how I bought this thing. So because they didn't ask enough questions, they were, feeling that this person will not say I'm asking too many questions. You have to ask questions because it is your hard-earned money. Ask questions. As a first-time home buyer, what is the procedure? Okay, why is this like this? Why is this coming up? Okay, what about this? What about this? The realtor is there to satisfy you, so ask all the questions that you need to ask as a first-time home buyer or an existing buyer. Okay, so let's go further. Always read the small print before you make your deposits. Okay, always read the small print. I always advise my clients, because most times when you want to buy, especially off-plan houses from companies that we partner with, there's always a subscription form, and on that subscription form you have terms and conditions. Okay, so always read it. I tell my clients, say, make sure I trust you. I said, sir or ma, please read in between the lines so that you have a proper understanding of what you are going into. Okay, so that you don't, by the time you have filled the form, you have submitted, and you're not like, and maybe something now comes up, you didn't read the terms and conditions, say, you didn't tell me, and all that stuff. Always read the small print, read everything, especially the terms and conditions. As a first-time home buyer, as an existing investor, read the details, read the terms and conditions, so that you have read it, you understand what they're saying. If you have questions, I have a lot of clients, after they've gone through the subscription form or the FAQ, the terms and conditions, they put out questions. Okay, I saw here, what do they mean here? Can you clarify further? Okay, read the print. Don't just go into buy a property and you don't. They said if you want to hide anything from Nigerians, you should put it in a book. We don't like to read. What did you say? Okay, is that it? Let me just sign. No. Always read the small print so that you have a proper understanding of what you're going into. Okay, so we'll go further. Consider what type of property to buy. Are you looking at buying a co-living house, a 1-bedroom, a studio, a 2-bedroom apartment, a 3-bedroom, a terrace, a semi-detached or fully detached? Okay, depending on what you want to do with it. Okay, if for instance you're planning to buying the house to move in with your family, you determine what type of house you want to buy. If you're looking at an investment, because at times some clients will call me and say, I want to buy a property, and I ask them, because we usually do, our team usually do, what are you looking at doing with this property? And they tell you, I'm not in the country, I just want to put it up for rent. And so before then, they would have asked for a particular property, and they're like, if you're looking at putting this property, if you're looking at generating cash flow, I don't think you should be looking at this type of house. Okay, you can look at smaller apartments. You can we advise you based on what you want to do with the property. So you have to consider what type of house, depending on what you want to do with it. If it's for cash flow, then your realtor would advise you. Okay, so let's go further. Number 8. As a first-time home buyer, I said home owner. As a first-time home buyer, pick the right neighborhood. Okay, pick the right neighborhood. Finding the right neighborhood is just as important as the location. When you're buying a property, location is everything. Location in terms of the security of that area, location in terms of accessibility of the property, location in terms of if we have amenities such as hospitals, pharmacy, grocery store, malls, good schools. So you have to look out for the best neighborhood. And so, for instance, if you're looking at putting that property up for rent or for short let, and you don't understand the neighborhood and you get the location or the neighborhood wrong, then your property will be affected. You might not be able to get the right kind of tenants for your property. Okay, so it is important to look out for the right neighborhood. And at times, because most of my clients, when I've taken them out for inspection, we'll go there and they look at it. Oh, I like this house. When you're buying a new house or you're buying a property, at times most people are not always on ground. Some people are in the diaspora. You can send a family friend, or there could be virtual inspection, because we are in the age of IT, so nothing is limited now. Okay, so you can tell your realtor, like we do a lot of virtual inspection, especially for our clients in the diaspora, our prospects in the diaspora. We do virtual tour of the whole area, maybe the estate, the surrounding, and of course, because we are, integrity is our mantra, we tell you exactly as it is. Recently, I was discussing with one of my clients, because most times when he sees anything, he's a serial investor. That's the client I was talking to for almost 1 hour. That's why we came up late, okay? There was a project he saw online and he told me about it. Okay, let's go and check out this project for me and all that. And so when I I was not telling them, that's area. Oh. We have this, this. There are some setup that you have this kind of omonile kind of setting behind. So if you're looking at, because he's looking at a short-let investment, people will not want to come near you where you have a certain kind of people, around. And so when he mentioned the area, I mentioned that's the drawback that I have in that location. He said if it's that one, no need. Okay, recently, I think sometime in August, one of my clients from the US, he came around, he bought one of our Lavadia properties. And so his friend was in the US, and everybody is scouting, please, this is the best property, this is the best. And so the friend wanted him to check out the property for him, and so they went there. And that's the kind of setting that I was just referring to. And so he said, while they were with the realtor, that his friend connected him with, because since he was in the country, the friend wanted him to help him check. He said, like all those Agbero boys, they were just coming, stuff like he said he was just like, let's just finish on this place and live here. Okay, and the friend wants to buy that property for short-let investment. And so that tells you that is a no-no. Okay, that's actually a no-no. So the location, the neighborhood, the crime rate in that area, the amenities, good schools, hospitals in case of emergency, pharmacy, malls, recreational centers, you must find out, what that neighborhood looks like. Thank you for joining. Thank you, I really appreciate. Okay, so let's go further. Make the most of an open house. Open house. We always do open house in some of our, especially our Lavadia projects. We always do open house. And so for clients who are not around, like I mentioned earlier, there could be virtual tour of the open house. This will afford you, the opportunity to know the neighborhood when you're on ground. You can also send a representative, or your realtor would just show you through. You will understand the neighborhood when you come for open house, and you can ask more questions. You have been talking to your realtor. Maybe your realtor would have taken you to the property for inspection. But when you go for an open house, you have the company, the developer, they will be present. And so you have the opportunity to ask more questions so that you can be very satisfied before you make that home purchase. Okay, so number 10, buy a home for tomorrow. What does that mean? It's easy to look at properties that meet your current needs, but if you plan to start or expand your family, it may be preferably to buy a larger home you can grow into. You have to consider your future need. Okay, let's say for instance, thank you for joining. Thank you. For instance, you're newly married couple, and you just want to get a small house, maybe just small house, so just me and my wife, okay? And by the time you know it, your wife is pregnant, children start coming in, but the in-law will come for Mubo now. Where will she stay? Family members will start coming, for holiday, even though they're not going to stay there, they would still stay somewhere. Okay, at least you have an extra room for your guests. Okay, so when you're buying your house, especially if you're buying it to live in, you have to look into the future. Don't just buy the house and buy a small house and say, it's just don't look at your immediate need when you're buying a house. That is, if you're buying that house to live in, okay, you look at buy a home for tomorrow. You consider the future needs. Okay, whether it will suit you 5 years from now or 10 years or thereabouts. Okay, Okay, so number 11, be ready to compromise. Okay, be ready to compromise as a first-time home buyer or an existing investor or an existing buyer you bought before. Be ready to compromise. It's rare to find a house that's perfect in every way. So think carefully about what you're willing to compromise and on what you're not. You know, at times, you cannot get it 100% perfect. Okay, that's why nobody is perfect. Okay, so you must be ready to compromise at times, not very major. Okay, you must be ready to compromise. Like for instance, you wanted a house that has a walk-in closet. Okay, where you can put all your clothes. You want your designer shoes lined up, maybe a certain brand lined up on this floor, and you cannot get that because of your budget. You just compromise. Okay, it's not too much, so be ready to compromise as a first-time home buyer, because at times while you are waiting, a popular saying said, the house you looked yesterday, you checked out yesterday, and you are planning, you are still, meditating, you are still thinking, you are still in between, should I buy, should I not buy? Somebody else also looked at that house and paid for the house. A lot of people have lost, houses that they really love. Thank you for joining. They come for inspection and they love the house. And because they're just in between making decisions, even though you still have to, sit down and, look at it. Don't waste too much time, okay? And before you know it, the house they saw is gone and they're like, where will I see this house again? Then you begin to tell your realtor, you have to find this exact house for me. It has to be in this exact location. And most times, it's not easy to get. Okay, so be ready to compromise, take the decision, and get the house. Okay, and so finally, make an offer. Make an offer. Okay? This is usually happens when you're buying a ready house. Okay, for the off-plan houses, most times the prices are fixed. Most times for off-plan houses, the prices are fixed, except the company is running a promo, like we're running a Black Friday sale on a 2-bedroom apartment at Songotedo, the apartment by Landry. We're running a Black Friday sale of 2 million naira discount. So for that, you can, from time to time, the company can come up with different type of promos. That's for off-plan houses. Most times, their prices are always fixed, but at times you could get discounts depending on if they are offering promos. Okay. So make an offer. This applies to ready houses. If you want to buy a house, you had already gone to check the house, it is something that you like, then you make an offer. If, for instance, the owner has said, okay, I want to sell this house for 100 million, you can make an offer of, okay, the fact that you're making an offer doesn't mean it's going to be rejected, okay? Once you make an offer, okay, I'm going to pay, let's say, you said it's 150. Okay, can we do 130? When you send that offer, your realtor will help you with that. Then the developer or the owner can now reply to your offer if they are accepting the offer, or they will tell you what they can do so that you can deal. Okay, and so that is it for tips for first-time home buyers. Okay, it is not just for first-time home buyers, it is for everybody. Even if you have bought a house before, no knowledge is waste, okay? So some things that you didn't know before, you would have learnt them here. And so I just want to thank you all for joining my live video. I really, really appreciate every one of you. Remember to join us next week, Tuesday. The time is usually 7 p.m. I had series of calls with several clients, and the client that called me last was speaking to me for almost an hour. I was just praying. I was looking at the time. or I couldn't tell him that sir, I have to go, because he's talking about his previous investment and he's talking about small investments, closing deals. That's why we are in this business. And so that was why we came up a little bit late. In fact, it wasn't a little bit late, it was like 1 hour late. Okay, so the time is 7 p.m. on Instagram Live. I'm going to go to Facebook. Facebook is 8 p.m. Okay, every Tuesday. For our YouTubers, you can join us on Instagram. So I'm going to post this video on my YouTube. If you have any questions, please send us a message. You can drop your questions on the comment section. You can send us a DM. You can send us a WhatsApp message. Integrity is our mantra at GMH Realty Limited. We put all the cards on the table. We advise you on the best investment that would profit you. We advise you on the best home that you would love with your family if you're living there. Okay, and so please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. My Instagram lovers, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, GM Harvey Realty Limited and Mercy Gilmore. Okay, so remember to follow us on all our social media platforms. Please turn on post notifications. We have new videos on our YouTube channel. Check them out. And for our YouTubers, please help us to share this video. A lot of people need this information so that they can make an informed decision when they are buying their next property. Okay, and so I remain your lady, Billionaire Realtor. Thank you all once again, and please keep staying safe.